When people hear the word time, some may imagine a clock ticking, some may recall back the good memories, and sometimes even the bad ones too. When people discuss the theme time, some may that talks about any sort of moral, and some may give a speech that talks about time management. For me, when I think of the word time, I casually paint myself eating mangoes off the mango tree and buying peanut and guava from the peanut lady outside of our school gate and having a feast with my friends after school. Today, I would like to share with you the 12 years of my life spent in Papua New Guinea, the land of the unexpected, and why it is so valuable to me. My time in Papua New Guinea was valuable because it taught me that although we are given the exact same amount of time, the way we spend our time is different. Because the significance and quality of time will be different for everybody. If it wasn't for my 12 years of time spent in Papua New Guinea, I would have never been able to feel different, special, and unique. So, where exactly is this place? Papua New Guinea, which from now on I will refer to as PNG, lies above Australia. A fun fact, it is the world's second largest island after Greenland, and on Netflix there is a documentary called Inside the World's Toughest Prisons, and in one of the episodes, Papua New Guinea is introduced and is described to be one of the five unsafe places to live on Earth. Thinking about it today, I think it was a miracle that I was able to survive in that place for 12 years. Regardless of the fact that the place is extremely dangerous with extreme government corruption, I myself have never actually witnessed any violent actions such as robbery or gunshots. However, my dad will tell you a whole different story because he once had a gun pointed at his temple and his office also got robbed many times. And I never knew, but last year when I visited Papua New Guinea after 3 years of my departure, my dad told me the biggest secret that he had been hiding from me since I was 3 years old. He told me that we own a gun and that he hid it somewhere safe in our house just in case someone tries to rob our house or just in case someone tries to harm one of our family members. So now, you guys might wonder, how on earth did this girl even survive from a place where police officers will take crime seriously and where gunshots and robbery is happening everywhere? So such curiosity is what leads to my main point of standing here in this stage. In fact, I am here to talk about my time, my experience. Although my friends and I all live in the same time period, obviously the way my friends spent their time would be different to how I spent my own time. Just like how a time spent for a prisoner behind the bars would be different when compared to how I spent my own time. For instance, my Korean friends who attend Korean public school would probably have spent their time attending Hagwon, learning English, math, science, and even martial arts and piano. However, for me, I was busy catching grasshoppers and climbing up the coconut tree and the pawpaw tree. In simple words, equal quantity of time but different quality. So let me briefly speak about what my life was like while teenagers my age were living their own life. So first of all, I was 3 years old when I first stepped my foot on the land, and I began to school when I was 5 years old. I schooled at an international school. Sorry, but I was the only Korean besides my 2 other siblings, among few international kids, and a lot of national kids. In fact, 98% of the kids were nationals, just like here in KISJ. However, I did feel like I was in an international school, not because the school required us to speak English, and neither because of the teachers who came from different places of the world such as Ireland, New Zealand, Australia, France, Fiji, India, and places like that, but because of the diverse culture of the country. Papua New Guinea is such a diverse country that your skin color, your hair texture, and even your accent all differs based on which region and province you come from. So for example, my friends Gabriella and Natalie, they come from the Bougainville province. They have the darkest skin tone among all of Papua New Guineans. My friend Megan and Liam comes from the Manus province and they have the smoothest skin. And my friend Shasha comes from the Central Province, and she has the lightest skin tone among all of Papua New Guineans. And in fact, her hair texture is just as similar to my hair texture. And lastly, Ida, she's from Morabe. She's really, really pretty. and not saying that my other friends aren't. If I could brag a little bit about myself, I would say that I have many friends who I still stay in touch with. In fact, last year when I visited Papua New Guinea, after 3 years, my friends wanted to make my 5-day stay the most memorable, the most valuable, and the most special. So what we did was we all made mumu together. And mumu is a traditional dish of from Papua New Guinea. And as you can see, I peeled some kaukau, which is sweet potato in Tokpisin, a language spoken in Papua New Guinea. I also scraped some coconut and squeezed coconut milk. And I also marinated veggies and meat. And then later on, we dug holes underground and put burning coal, dry coconut leaves, dry banana leaves. And then the next day at 5 o'clock in the morning, we actually put the pot into the ground and waited it until it was finally cooked. While I was cooking, I remembered how blessed I was to be part of my friend's culture. I was always thankful for the blessings that during my permanent stay there, and my visit to my second motherland after 3 years of my departure made me reconsider about how truly blessed I was for being able to just break the cultural boundary regardless of the fact that I was a Korean girl. However, getting along with the nationals may sound easy to some of you, but it surely was not. Especially because there are still tons of tribes that exist in Papua New Guinea, and the concept one talk, which literally means one language, is a huge deal to Papua New Guineans. Another fun fact, there are more than 800 languages spoken in Papua New Guinea. So my point here is that it is the most hardest thing to do to just break into the boundary and become part of the tribe, especially when you look different and speak a different language. However, I was different because, at least in my school community, because with a little bit of hyperbole added, I was the only Asian girl who was able to blend in with these nationals. In fact, I blended in so well that I was called Meri Papua with a Chaiko face, which is the title of my presentation, and it literally means Papua New Guinean girl with Asian features. I can never really remember the reason I became so determined to be friends with all of these girls and boys, because it all just happened naturally when I was 5 years old. However, it was kind of different when I was no longer a 5-year-old, but an elementary student. I had to actually try my best to fit into the group. So sometimes I pretended to be a Papua New Guinean and not Korean. And I will now present to you a poem that I wrote when I was in grade 6. And this poem simply displays my intentions of who I wanted to be when my friends were around. So here's the poem. I am 3 and colorful, raised in the land of the unexpected, my home away from home. Yellow yesterday, white today, black tomorrow. I get bullied when I am white, I get bullied when I am yellow. I get praised when I am black. Nobody can touch me when I am black. Hey Chaiko, hey Whitey, all this chit-chat will stop when I am not different. I was inspired by a poem titled And You Call Me Colored when I actually wrote this poem. And this poem may sound racist, but this poem simply reflects the reason I had to be different and fit in with the group. Because as a student, the biggest fear for me was to be left out in school. And as I have mentioned in the poem, I get bullied when I am white or yellow, so the only way I could survive in school was to be black. I think trying to change my identity is a good thing that I did, although some of my fellow Korean friends and my parents would be offended. However, I never really tried to change myself because I was ashamed of my nationality. I just didn't want to be a loner. Although I like it now, I never really liked to run around barefoot. But I pretended to like it because I wanted to be one of them. And there was this one time when I stepped on a little stone and it hurt really bad, as if I stepped on a Lego cube. And there was this one time when I tried to like chewing betel nut, and betel nut is a form of drug which is supposed to be illegal in Papua New Guinea, but people still chew it because it's part of their culture. And I tried chewing it once because I wanted to be one of them. And if I have to explain a little bit about what this plant is, it's basically a nut that you chew with lime. A lime, not the sour green lime, but lime as in seashell powder. And when you chew betel nut with lime, your mouth turns red, and it gets you to a great risk of getting mouth cancer. Fortunately, I never got addicted to it. The internet is so slow and so expensive in Papua New Guinea that I almost had a hard time getting used to the fast internet here in Korea, because I always had to wait at least a minute to upload a post on Instagram or Facebook when I was in Papua New Guinea. Apart from the inconvenience that I faced because of the slow internet, I also could never ever walk out my home for 12 years. Just as Koreans live in an apartment, most of the people in Papua New Guinea live in a compound, and I was never allowed to walk out the compound gate without my dad or mom driving. But because I was a rebel, I decided to walk out the compound gate without letting my parents know. I was a rebel because I was brave, and I was brave because I knew nothing. Well, I did know something, but I never really understood when my dad emphasized on how dangerous the place was. Anyways, because I was a rebel, I once or maybe 4 times walked out that gate with my friends. And I consider this to be my biggest accomplishment that I have made during my stay there, because I was overwhelmed. I felt like a freed man. But I never really enjoyed the moment as much as I thought I would have because of the attention that I got from the people. They stared at me, they shouted at me, they called me names. But of course I pretended to enjoy the attention because I didn't want my friends to feel bad for me. And that's when I realized that no matter how hard I tried to hide my identity, it would still show through my looks, my eyes, my skin tone, my hair texture. And that's when I realized that I could never be a true Meri Papua. And for the first time of my stay in PNG, I wondered, why am I even here? And for the first time of my stay in PNG, I wanted to be away from my motherland. I wanted to be away from the land of the unexpected. And for the first time of my stay in PNG, I wanted to be in my motherland. For the first time of my stay in Papua New Guinea, I wanted to attend Hagwon and learn English, math, science, martial arts, and piano. However, when I realized that there was no way for me to just book a ticket on my own and get myself a ticket back to Korea, I tried to enjoy the moment. I used my own uniqueness to show myself off and figured out a way to enjoy the attention that I got from the people. So this is what I did. I basically participated in dancing the traditional dance with the traditional attire on during the PNG's Independence Day festival. And I also represented myself as a Korean girl and during the United Nations concert that my school held once every year. I think the idea of spending time according to your own circumstance is something that can be difficult or easy depending on the type of person you are. Figuring out how to enjoy the moment will take time, but once you figure it out, things will be a lot more lovely, just like how I turned my 12 years of time spent in Papua New Guinea to a wonderful memory instead of a miserable one that will be remembered for a lifetime. Remember that time is all about quality with the same quantity given to you and I. Thank you.